What is up, fellow riders? Give me a second real quick. Sounding real good. It's super cold out. It's super cold and it's super rainy. Bad weather. Yeah, so it's super cold, it's super rainy right now. I can see my breath right now. I think it's about like 35, 36 degrees. Right now it's chilly. Just wanted to warm the bike up for a little bit because I haven't rode it in a couple days. But this video is gonna be kind of special. Makes me want to go ride. It makes me want to put the leathers on and go ride. It's still gonna be cold as hell though. Yeah, I kind of wanted to make this video real quick. I was thinking about some things, man, for new riders, and I was just like, you know what? There are some things that new riders, if you just got a motorcycle, you probably are going to encounter some things that nobody has ever told you before when you get your bike. And so I'm gonna go over a couple of things that you may not know or may not have already experienced. And one of those things that the funny things that people don't tell you when you get your motorcycle is that regardless of the bike that you get, let's say if you start off on something that is a sub liter bike, meaning it's under 1,000 cc's, even if it's preferably if it's even under 600 cc's, especially if it's under 600 cc's and considered a super sport, whatever you want to call it. There's some 650s out there. They're just not necessarily tuned, you know, like a R6 or something like that, or a Ninja 600 66. But regardless, if you were to get something that is below 600, a lot of things that some of the things that you might encounter is that, especially if it's your first bike, it's going to feel very, very fast. Every speed on there is going to feel fast. You're going to be going 35, 45, 55, 65 miles an hour, and it's going to feel fast. It's going to blow your mind. You're going to be addicted to the speed. But what people don't tell you is that once you get used to going that basic highway speed, once you start going faster or wanting to go faster, you're not going to really feel much faster on one of those bikes once you start seeing traffic passing you up and things of that nature. And you're going to be like, damn, well, I thought I was fast. You're still going to see a lot of people passing you, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But you're going to start to quickly realize that with a smaller bike, even though it's quick, it's just not necessarily fast. So it depends on what you're actually looking for when you are getting your first bike. I would say if you're looking for something fast right out the gate, and you have patience and you can mitigate your risks for crashing, as far as like being safe, wearing the proper safety gear, not being easily influenced by your peers or people that you may or may not, that you may encounter or ride with. I would say get something at least a 600, at the very least, to not feel like you have to upgrade after 6 months to a year of riding something that's like maybe a 300 or a 250, or 400 or something like that. You know what I mean? You're going to save money, right? You're going to save money and you're going to save time, because when you do start off with something extremely low, right, like a 300 or something like that, you're never going to get all the money back that you paid for that 300. You're never going to get it all the way. You're never going to get it back. And I know a lot of people, myself included, I used to think that way, like I'll just get this and then I'll trade it up. You're not going to get shit for your trade. You're going to be better off selling it outright privately. But even then, you're still not going to get all your money back. So be prepared for that. A lot of people don't tell you that. So if you're going to go spend $3,000 on a 300 or something like that, honestly, I would really just wait and save up double that money. Save up $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 and go buy yourself a nice used bike. Or you just save up and get something that's new, if you want, ZX636, Gixxer 750, CF Moto 675, something like that. Get one of those, and then you won't ever feel necessarily slow, because your bike is going to be quick and it's also going to be fast. So that's one of the things. The other myth that most people think, most guys mainly, is that once you get a motorcycle, you're going to be able to pick up girls. And that's kind of a bit of a myth. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the first thing everybody wants to do once they get their bike, after a while, they want to go to motorcycle meets, bike meets, meet new people, and you think in your head, like, I just rolled up on a R6, I just rolled up on a 636, I just rode up on an Aprilia RS660. It's so nice. I just rolled up on my Gixxer 1000. I got a leader bike. I got a fire blade. And all I need to do is just roll up to this meet. And once the girls see my bike, I got them. It don't work that way. Because once you go to these meets, depending on the reason, if you're just going to hang out, you're going to have fun, period. If you're going just to pick up girls, you're going to run into two issues. The girls that you see are either, more than likely, 50% of the girls that you might see at a bike meet, 60% of them are there with their significant other, their boyfriend or their husband. And they just may be walking around and looking independent, but they're really not. And that you're going to run into that a lot. Secondly, a lot of the girls that you see, they usually are pretty clicked up. They're going to be clicked up with other girls, and they kind of like shun people from kind of talking to them. Like, they protect themselves, like, we're not here to be talking to dudes. Hey, what's up? But you're not going to try to hit on us, kind of thing. So I've seen that, and that you're going to run into that a lot. And that's how actually a lot of drama goes down at some of these bike meets, and part of the reasons why they get shut down at certain locations, and you got to move locations, and that one eventually gets shut down, is because it's almost like a high school thing. It's like people meet up, enthusiasts meet up to talk and to gook and to drool over bikes and talk bikes and stuff like that and meet new people. But it's always that crowd of people that are there for extracurricular activities, like wanting to meet somebody and things of that nature, and drama just starts going down because you approach somebody's girl, or you approach this girl. This week she was with that dude, she was with you, but in 2 weeks she done moved on from you, or she's at a different meet and she's talking to somebody else, and now it just causes drama. Now people are meeting up, they want to fight. People are pulling knives out, people are pulling guns out, all over some girls. And so it's like really not the best place to try to pick up girls at a meet or anything like that. If you're going to pick up somebody or you're going to meet somebody, it's going to be it's got to be someplace where you like roll up to a gas station or roll up to a mall or something like that, where it's not necessarily a biker scene. Because like I said, the local chicks at your local meet are usually people that kind of get around. So just be prepared for that. What else I was going to say? The other thing that people don't usually tell you about your motorcycle is that you should always be setting aside money for unexpected things to happen. Usually when you think about just getting your bike, especially your first bike, you're only thinking about cost of ownership, meaning like your payment on it, your insurance, maybe some gear, obviously. But you don't ever think about the things that you're going to need like 6 months to a year later. You're not thinking of, if I'm riding every day, or if I'm daily riding this thing pretty much every day, like, and I'm putting miles on the bike, like, how much are tires? What kind of tires do I like? What kind of tires do I need? Oil changes, maintenance. You're not really thinking about the cost of those things up front. You're not thinking about that at all, really. All you're thinking about is, how much is gas, you know what I'm saying, and when am I going on my next ride, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not thinking about safety issues and things of that nature when it comes to having these bikes. And a lot of times people run their bikes into the ground, and that's the bad stigma that you will necessarily hear, that you will sometimes hear about Gixxers and, you know, whatever, mainly Gixxers, but it happens with all bikes. You know, you have people out there that literally will buy a bike brand new and they will just ride it. They probably won't do any maintenance on it. If they do anything on it, they might change the tires. But you have people that literally just run the bike into the ground and then they start wondering why the bike is running like shit. That thing is out of oil. The oil's never been changed. It's like, it's crazy. They don't fix the bike until the bike breaks, and then you're like trying to figure out why did it break. So you got to be very aware of that. People don't tell you that. Start setting aside money for these random things that are going to happen. Cleaning your chain, making sure your fluids are always topped off. These are things that you don't necessarily pay attention to because you're so enamored, you're so distracted by just having fun. The other thing, what's another thing people don't really tell you? One of the things that I found out early on was that when you first get your bike, you almost instantly become aware of how exposed and vulnerable you are when you're riding around in traffic, right? It's a weird feeling, and some people it's an intimidating factor for them, and they don't like it, and they stop riding. But you can put your bike in endless amount of situations based on the size of it. I mean, these motorcycles are not big, right? They're not very big. They're not very big at all. You can fit them in pretty tight situations, you know what I mean? Especially when you're in traffic, lane splitting, filtering, pulling up the lights, you know what I mean? You can put the bike almost in any situation. And I think what people don't tell you is that when you do start to ride, I think a lot of the stigma that people have with bikers is that they kind of see us doing what we want to do versus what they cannot do. Because like I said, a lot of these things that you will start realizing that you can do with your motorcycle, you can't do that in your car. Like, you won't be able to do it in your car. And so you have to be hyper aware of what you're doing because it can expose you to some extreme risks. Like I said, when you're lane filtering, when you're lane splitting, these are things that people are not looking for other cars to do. And so if you're not aware, or they're not aware of you, you're going to put yourself in potential danger. And it's just always one of those things that I am always hyper aware about when I'm riding, and I have been forever, is because you get on this thing and you feel almost like a sense of invincibility. Like, I can just do what I want. I can U-turn here, or I can fit through these cars here, and I'm not going to wait at this light behind these cars, like, even though it's illegal here in Texas to do that. Like, they changed that like last September. No more lane splitting, I believe. I think you can still lane filter, but do I still do it? Yeah, at times. You know, there's a time and place for everything, and you know, it's a judgment call. It's a judgment call, you know, when you're doing these things, and you have to really make the best choice for yourself, because like I said, your choices can end you in a bad situation. It can be a life-threatening situation, but you do feel that's, you know, people don't tell you how much freedom that you have or that you feel when you're on a motorcycle, especially a sport bike. You could just do things that normal cars can't do, and you could do things, and you can get away with things that most people, you know what I mean? Like, most people would not recommend. You just have a lot of freedom. You have a lot of freedom. I would say that you would have more freedom if you were on like a ADV adventure bike or something like that, or a what do you call it, a supermoto or something like that. I think you have a ton of freedom on those bikes because you can go off-road and do whatever the hell you want. That's why those dirt bike boys be mobbing the cities, and it's so hard to catch them because they can just go wherever they want. You know what I mean? Versus on a street bike, you are kind of limited to the street and the sidewalk. Right? You take this thing off-road, you're going to be risking going down. The bike is just not made for all-terrain types. You know what I mean? So, but even then, there are limits. You know what I mean? There are limits. And your abilities also play a big role in that too. So, you know, be aware of that. Another thing that people don't really talk about when you get your motorcycle is how cheap it is to actually ride. You know, these gas tanks are not big, right? These gas tanks are not big. You know, for a liter bike, obviously, you can fill this thing up, premium gas, the most expensive gas, and, you know, get to the pump and pay like $8 maybe for like premium, depending on the price of gas at the time. 8, 10, $12 or something like that if you want to fill it all the way up, depending on what you're trying to do. I always fill mine up typically all the way because I don't necessarily always trust the gas meter gauge on here, even though it's digital and I love it. I always give myself a little bit of grace, and I don't run its thing out of gas. It's not good for your pump as well. So your fuel pump, you don't always want to just keep running out of gas and then filling up. You know what I mean? Same with your regular car too, if you got one. Keep your pump alive. I figured that out on the Harley a lot. It was a bad experience. But yeah, it is virtually cost you pennies on the dollar to be able to fill up your bike and put miles on it. And that's one thing that you don't realize until you actually get your bike. Nobody's going to really talk to you about that. If you are going to get your first bike, or if you're going to get a super sport or whatever it is, I would highly suggest that you get something with a gas gauge. It's going to help. It's going to really help your peace of mind. Otherwise, you're going to have to be counting your miles, which is not a bad thing, but it's just so much more convenient. And more manufacturers are starting to put those on the bike. And to me, I just don't understand why some of these bikes don't have them. You're spending like $20,000+ on a bike. It should come with a freaking gas gauge. Thank you, Suzuki. Thank you. All this thing needs now is hand warmers. It just needs hand warmers. I need heated grips, man. I need heated grips badly. But yeah, that's one thing that people don't tell you about. What's another thing? This is kind of a common one, but it's still an issue that a lot of people don't even address until after the fact. Now, here in Texas, they are your dealership. If you go to a dealership, they are not obligated any longer. And I don't know how long this has been, but I know for sure when I went and got this thing, they just didn't care. And I never really thought about this because I always get this on my bike anyway, but it is insurance. Insurance. Guys, I still don't understand why insurance is like the biggest topic in the motorcycle community when it comes to accidents happening or bikes being stolen and wrecked, etc. It's almost like it's the afterthought. You'll always get people that post up like, oh my God, bike went down, or oh my God, bike was stolen, etc., etc. And then you have the people like myself that are like, damn, man, that sucks. I hope you had insurance. And it's just like, did you have insurance? No, it was too expensive. I don't understand why you would go out and spend $7,000, $8,000, $10,000+ on a machine, pay for the insurance to get like registration, and then let it expire or cancel it, and then just still ride around and not feel vulnerable, not only for yourself but other people on the road. Like, if it's your fault and you cause an accident, how then are you going to pay for those damages? You know what I mean? It's like you're not insured. So to me, even when you go into the dealership, they're not required any longer, at least here in Texas, they're not required any longer to to not let you leave the lot with the bike without showing proper possession of insurance. It used to be like that, and I was actually kind of surprised because when I went and picked this thing up, my normal dealer guys was like, hey, I don't even need to ask you, but I do have to tell you in this portion of the thing that you have to sign of paperwork that you have to sign that you have proper insurance to ride this bike. They said, hey, look, it's not our job anymore to verify that you do. That's all on you. Our job is to sell you the bike. And I was just like, oh wow. I remember back in times that like that's what they would do. You would have to show that you had the insurance to drive that bike off the lot, to take possession of it. So, you know, stop making the insurance an afterthought and start. When you're looking for a bike, you should be looking at all these factors. You say, damn, I want a GSXR. I'm gonna go look at one this weekend or whatever it is. Like, this is gonna be the bike that I want. The first thing you need to be doing is not only looking at the price of the bike and how much it's gonna cost you per month if you're going the finance route, but you also need to, even if you have cash, right? Even if you saved up like 10K and you're like, I'm going to buy this bike, boom. You need to be aware of how much the insurance is going to cost you, because usually when you are financing motorcycles, you are required to have full coverage insurance, right? And you kind of want that. You want gap in there. You want these things because the likelihood of something happening to your bike, whether you could crash it or it gets stolen, you don't want to be on the hook, right? Somebody steals your bike and you paid $12,000 for it and you still owe 8% of that value, and you're not insured. Guess what? You're out of a bike and you still got to pay the damn creditor back for what you owe. Versus if you have the insurance and something happens, you're covered and you're good. So, you know, a lot of people that I still see, man, they just look at the price of the bike and they don't give a damn about insurance, or they only look at insurance right away to be able to get the bike. And then once it is expired, they don't even bother renewing it. They just continue to drive around on it until it's the next inspection date. And then they go and get insurance again. Just riding dirty is just not, it's just not a good thing, man. And, you know, like I said, you should want to feel and be protected at all times. To me, it's like wearing your PPE or your gear. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to go ride dirty or ride without a helmet, ride without, personal protection, you got to be okay with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just got to accept that, you know, if something happens, I know I'm putting myself in this situation. So, you know, like I said, that's a big thing that is still going on in this community that a lot of people won't talk about. So again, if you guys are just getting into motorcycling or you're about to go get your first bike, you know, really think about, and I know it's hard when you don't have a motorcycle and you're going to get your first one, especially. It's hard to think about, do I want speed or quickness, or do I want a combination of both? You're thinking more in terms of like my budget. Like, I can only go buy, you know, if your budget only calls for $6,000, then you just gotta be okay with what you can get with that $6,000. But just be aware that, like I said, that you're gonna probably end up losing money if you can't wait. If you know you want something like a 600, like I said, or a liter bike, just save up and just get it, or get something so low on the budget so you can learn. You know what I mean? That's why I always tell people, or I always suggest to people, like, if you know and you're romanticizing about having a 600 or 1,000 cc bike, but you haven't ridden yet, and you're not, you know, you don't want to go spend all that money right away, or you don't have a way of obtaining it right away, I would just simply say, just go get yourself a Grom, or like I said, go buy, you know, a budget-friendly used bike on like Facebook or something. Like, I don't really suggest Facebook, but what I'm saying is you go find something extremely inexpensive. I use a Grom as as the example because it's only going to cost you about $3,000 or less, right? And that's a bike that you would be able to flip or at least get some of your money back if you have to resell it. Also, it's a great bike to learn on, even though it's small, but you can learn the basic mechanics of riding on that thing. I would just suggest getting one of those, man, and learn what you can, because you're gonna figure out what you actually want or what you actually need for your style of riding. You know what I mean? Too many times do we watch these videos, we watch YouTube, and we watch the popular people, and we're seeing how much fun they have on these bikes, and we're just like, look, I want to have that kind of fun, and so I need this kind of bike. And it's too much romance, man. You don't, half the time people get bikes that are so big, it's too much for them. They want that leader bike, so they went out and bought that BMW. It's too much for them, and they realize that it makes them so uncomfortable because the bike has so much power, or that 600 has so much power, that you don't even have the confidence to wheel that thing correctly. You don't have the confidence to ride that thing correctly because it's so twitchy. The throttle's too twitchy. It just feels off. It feels very uncomfortable. You find yourself in those situations, and then you find yourself not wanting to ride because you don't trust your skills with the bike. A lot of that comes with road time and putting miles on the bike, but a lot of it is mental too. A lot of it is mental. It's much better to ease into something than going straight balls to the wall because you're playing a popularity game. Don't do that. You'll regret it. But anyways, I've been rambling too long, man. Make sure you leave your comments in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. Let me know things that you were affected by when you were a new rider, or even things that you've seen people affected by, even if it is not you, people that may be close to you, people that you may ride with. What things have you observed in your community or with the people that you ride with? Was anybody affected by these things, or what other things that did I miss? What other things that occur that most people don't know about? So I would definitely be interested to see what those things are, because like I said, these are just a few of the things that I'm coming off the top of my head with that I wish I kind of would have knew when I first started riding, right? Oh, that was the other thing. I did miss one thing. This was going back to if you're going to meet girls or whatnot. If you have a girl, right? If you got a girl, be very mindful when you take her to these events or to these meets. And the reason why I'm saying be mindful is because I'm saying make sure that you are very confident in your significant other. Make sure you're very confident in yourself, because sometimes, I've seen this happen as well, sometimes you don't want to be the guy that shows up with your girl, and next thing you know, you got other dudes trying to talk to your girl or whatever it is, and you're not okay with that, or you can't handle that, and you end up in a bad situation. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, if you're bringing sand to the beach, make sure that you are secure. Make sure that you are not going to be rattled per se, like, you know what I mean? Like, because it's going to happen. Things are going to happen. People are disrespectful. You know, you can step 5 feet away from your girl, and next thing you know, you got some idiot trying to pull up on your girl and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? And then they get ultra disrespectful when you're like, hey, that's my girl. People are just idiots. You know what I'm saying? So just make sure that you can handle yourself accordingly, and keep yourself and your significant other safe in those situations. Yeah. But anyways, that was the last thing. Anyways, like I said, leave your comments below and let me know what you think. It's December, baby. The year is almost gone. The year is almost gone, and damn, I got content to put out, man, and I'm gonna try to go out with this month with a banger, like with bangers. Like I'm just gonna put all the content out, man. So this is gonna be crazy. It's gonna be a crazy month. So I hope you enjoy. Lots of good content. I appreciate everybody that's been supporting me thus far. I think we just hit like 808 on the subscriber account, the support account, and that's amazing. It's an amazing achievement. I think we got to go back and revisit the vision board. I think I had like increments of what I wanted to hit, and we're almost at 1,000. We're almost at 1,000. Still not monetized yet, but it doesn't matter because it's all about the content, man. And had a few setbacks this this last couple of months, but back in the saddle, man. Back in the saddle, going hard, and just thinking about different things that I want to do for next year, Lord willing, that I make it to January, 2026, January 1st, 2026. And then, we can get going on the plans for this next year. Super stoked about opportunities that are starting to present themselves for me. Hopefully, I'll have another secure income source to where I can really just start focusing on different things that I really want to do, not only with the bike, but just in general, with life and family and all that good stuff. So yeah, see what it has in store, but it's December, baby. It's going good so far, so keeping my head up. But anyways, appreciate you guys and girls, everybody. I appreciate everyone. Let's hit that 1,000, baby. Let's hit that 1,000. Peace.